Call to order Public Hospital District Number 4, King County Board of Commissioners Work Study Meeting. It is Wednesday, April 24th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. Shall we stand for the flag salute?
There it is.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're ready for roll call.
President Norris?
Here.
Vice President Aaron?
Here.
Secretary Spikers?
He didn't talk to me. I don't know if he talked to anybody else. I believe he mentioned last meeting that he was going to be gone.
And he sent an email.
He did send them.
He sent an email.
Okay.
Commissioner Pollard?
Here.
Do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
I move approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion about the agenda? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay, so it passes. Okay, first on our agenda is review of the process for filling our open board position. Who's going to handle it?
I'll start it, and we've got Skip here to support us.
Okay. You're on that good.
All right, we've got some slides that Mel's going to put up. So, just as kind of a reminder, so this, everybody may have this down, so I apologize if I'm telling you things you already know, but I thought it might be level setting just to remind us that with Joan's position opening up, so position number 5, there is this one process that's over here in the blue that means the open seat will go through an appointment process. And that appointment process will only last until the seat is filled by election. On the right-hand side, so the brownish colored boxes represent the seats that will be open on the election this year. So in May, so the filing is in May, and then the voting is in November. And so there will be 3 positions. So Mr. Pollard's seat, Ms. Norris's seat, as well as Joan's seat. Those are the 3 that will appear on the ballot. The 2 of you, it will be on the ballot because it's time, and hers will be on there because it's open. Because
Question.
She just vacated it. Yes.
Commissioner Young's position, I don't think expires this year. It expires in 2 years, right?
So,
therefore,
if you look at the very bottom of the brown boxes over there, so
oh, I see what you're
the
saying.
first 2 seats are 6-year renewals, but hers expires in 2021. And so whoever is elected into that seat this November will stay in that seat until the 2021 election.
And then you'll
Then
have to...
it's on the ballot again. Does that make sense?
It seems like, for example, like Ryan Roberts, yeah. The position stayed on for 2 years before he ran for election, re-election.
That's because that seat vacated after the filing had occurred. So it felt like 2 years, but it's because of this seat.
Oh, okay.
It's because this seat vacated
before the filing?
Before the filing date. And that's why it's coming up for election so quickly compared to that prior experience that you're referring to.
Okay.
Skip's nodding, so
is that right? Yeah, is that how? I thought that it's the term hasn't terminated until that person that has been appointed remains until the 2-year term is up, and then run for election.
That would be correct. If the triggering event wherein the person holding the current position resigned after the filing period had opened.
Oh, I see.
So had Joan resigned in June or late May, then that person would have served almost the 2 full years of the remainder of the term because you couldn't run it in the election. you'd have to wait until 2020 to run it for then taking place in 2021.
Okay,
There is
gotcha.
just one scenario, and
Yeah.
your CEO, Dr. Whitcup, asked you questions. I don't know how she comes up with these. She goes, what if nobody applies? Well, then you'd have a vacant position, and then you would not run until that 2020. You'd
Yeah.
have a lapsing, so to sort. So I spoke with the county about that.
Okay,
I hadn't thought about that.
makes
So
sense, thank you.
I have assured her that some will run. So
Well,
we'll see.
any vacant position can be filled by appointment and not,
Until the term
Ends.
stands for election, that's correct.
right? Did we get a written resignation from Joan?
It's on its way.
Okay, thank you.
So again, I thought it was just really helpful to make sure that we all
Yeah.
really understood.
Sure.
Steve, Val, and I have spent a lot of time just talking ourselves through it and making sure that we completely get it, and then Skip gets pulled in too. So that being said, we just need to figure out how to do the appointment process, because the voting process takes care of itself. The county has that down, but the appointment process to cover from now until the fall.
Well, according, with respect to the county process, yes, they have it all very well worked out, but it's the responsibility of the applicant to go through the steps that the county requires.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
nothing we can do.
Yes.
The
So all
person
we
has
can,
to do that.
yes, all we can
Right.
do is the appointment part of it.
But I think what Dr. Whitcup is asking is, what are we gonna do from now until 2021, when that, till we have someone fill out the application and say that they're gonna vote?
It's not till 2021, it's right now.
2020,
No,
yeah.
they-
It's
they-
right now.
So it's just blue box.
Yeah.
So today it's just blue box.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Just blue box.
But
just the
they're only
appointment.
appointed till November.
Until the November election is certified.
That will be, they wouldn't come on board till January.
The person that you all appoint may choose to put their name in the hat
Mm-hmm,
to run for the seat,
yeah,
as long as they can do it before or after, but they have to do it in that May filing deadline.
Is it May 5?
Yes.
May 13
May
through
13.
19.
Yeah.
open, yeah,
So as long as they file by, I think, May 13th, then they can be on the
Yeah.
November ballot.
And it's the week of May 13.
Yeah.
So 13 through 19, I think is
Right.
the
Right.
span. 17, thank you.
and then that's the closing date. Okay,
So this is proposal only. So proposal only. I just thought if we put something here, you guys can push back or give alternative ideas. So just thinking so tomorrow is the 25th. So if in tomorrow we start putting a call for resumes and letter of interest out, and so putting it in the newspaper, putting it on our Facebook site, posting it in the post office, putting it on our website, just all the different venues that we can think of to put a call for resumes out there to let it be known that there's an open position. If we get that, if we get it done as early as tomorrow, and then we can set a date such as the 9th of May, that we would have everything in, and now we can start the process of, we've got to confirm that they are registered, that they actually are a district resident, go through all of that, let you all have a chance to review the applicants, the people who have nominated themselves to be appointed to the position. And then I'm presuming that you all will want to interview them, and what was done the last time that we had an open position is there was in a board meeting, there were interviews that took place, and so we have all of that documentation. So we have the questions, we have the processes, so we don't have to reinvent all of that again.
the interviews came about at the city of Snoqualmie, that's where 15 candidates
Right.
went. Is that where we're gonna do it?
That was where that's where we held the board meetings at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Now we
they
hold them
can
here.
do it here.
That's, okay.
Yeah, but yes, you're remembering exactly.
Yeah, I
right.
remember those
'Cause you
days.
were-
I remember
you were on
those
the hot
days.
seat.
Ooh.
You were one of the interviewees.
She was.
Yes.
There's 15.
The May the 9th is there only because it is the board meeting in May, so it would be something just to be efficient. You could go into executive session, discuss, come out and do the appointment if you wanted to be incredibly efficient. This feels fast, I agree. But then, and then if you make a decision the 9th, or if you come back later to have a special meeting to make a decision, if we do it by the 14th, at least then you've allowed that person to be eligible or decide if they want to put their name in for the elections.
It's very compressed.
It is very
Yeah,
compressed.
it
I must
is, because
say,
you have to do back,
What kind of a deadline are you gonna put in your publicity for submission of?
Yeah, the 425.
Keep giving pushback and questions, but this is what we grabbed one of the last time we did this and just modified it a little bit, that this would be what the call for resumes would look at. So we were saying the close of business May the 6th.
May 6th, okay.
And that
for
gives
the
them
meeting
time,
May the 9th.
and then if they get
Okay.
appointed, that gives them time to put their name in.
Right.
I'm just concerned that people are not, that might be really interested, may not be able to respond that quickly. You know?
Yeah,
I
but we
mean,
don't-
We're saying it's gonna go out tomorrow.
That would be the soonest because you all need to be able to nod your heads, yes, that we
It's just
should
a
do
matter,
it.
it's a matter of the process, not just not having enough time,
Yeah,
Commissioner Pollard. And I don't think there's anything we can do. We just have
Yeah.
to follow the rules and do it the best we can.
one interesting item is the Valley Record announced the positions that are gonna be up for election. They did not mention the hospital district.
Oh, I think it was not prior to Commissioner Young.
No, he's talking about like his position and my position.
Oh,
Yeah.
they didn't do that.
They did not
I see.
mention the hospital district as having anybody up for election. Now that's in the Valley Record. I can send you copies if you like.
So you're right, so we have to find ways to draw attention to this.
And in the old days, we used to
Maybe we
have.
should call the Valley Record and let them know that, one, we're short a commissioner, and two, that there are two positions that will be up for election, so that even the person doing it, if they have not done this before, they'll figure it out with some help maybe from you and I.
Yeah, this could take the form of a news release.
Yeah.
Good idea.
But at any rate, no, I intended to ask the Valley Record why they didn't mention the hospital district. They mentioned all the other offices that are up for election except the hospital district.
Be interesting to hear what they say.
Call them, let us know.
You're the public relations now, Commissioner.
Pardon?
You're the public relations commissioner.
You've just been
Public
appointed.
relations committee.
We need to stay on track, folks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just really skeptical that there's really a lot of people out there that would like to serve. But number one, to respond so quickly, they may not even see the announcement for a week.
Well, I guess I've already been letting the word out in groups and such, and I'm presuming that you guys too, as you've been talking.
I'm wondering
out
whether
there.
we should just limit with those to do our, posting. Why can't we post like the library, community centers? Because a lot of people go in there and they read all this stuff besides Facebook newspaper. Most people don't do Facebook.
Those are
But
the things
library,
And one place that
community
you should be
centers.
posting, in one case it was even a legal requirement, is the frame near the front entrance of the hospital.
Oh, put something in
You
there.
know, the aluminum frame.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
That's
we
one
could
place
do,
we
yeah,
often overlook.
yeah. Yeah, but those areas, I think, where a lot of, members here in the community, they frequently, like the YMCA,
Is there a post? is
yeah,
there a
you can
bulletin
post, you
board?
can add a bulletin board, the library has a bulletin board,
I think I would
yeah,
suggest
community centers, yeah.
every place where we do our.
Even Bartell drugs.
Now, not all of our employees live in the district, but wouldn't it be a good idea to send them a memo, announce that Joan Young has stepped down, and that we're urgently looking, or maybe not urgently, but there's an opportunity for someone to fill that seat, and perhaps they know someone
Could be interested, yeah.
that would be
Senior
interesting.
centers would be. Carnation would be a good
Okay,
one.
are we ready to move on?
Okay.
I'm waiting,
Sure.
are you all ready? Okay. Next on our, is there anything else to report? Is there
I
another-
don't feel like I've gotten a confident plan. from
And
the
also
group.
you
Sorry.
haven't,
Oh,
Okay.
Let's
No,
talk some
that's-
more.
Sorry.
That's
You
why
haven't-
I asked.
Okay.
you haven't
Okay.
finished making your presentation either, the next.
Yeah, I don't so much have more as much as I wanted to, are we okay with?
I guess my
posting it
question would be, is
tomorrow?
this still pretty tight for you, Mr. Commissioner Pollard? The dates, is it still pretty tight?
Well, I'm just thinking of the people that might want to, be considered for appointment. I think it's awfully tight.
Yeah.
But that just puts more of a burden on us to get the word out.
Yes.
And that's why I even suggested sending this out to employees.
Sure, I'm happy to, I agree with you that posting far and wide, casting the broadest net possible
Mhm.
will get it out, and so even adding any more places that we
You're
can
right.
think of there. But I've already been getting the word out to all of the groups that I can think of. I've sent emails and there's the chamber today and letting everybody know. So hopefully there's some interest getting stirred.
Yeah, I guess for the sake of making sure that we meet the deadline for that potential, that appointee to, sign, would be to make sure that we meet that by 5/14, that everything is pretty all,
It's a little tidier
yeah,
if we
but
do
it
this.
should be
If
okay.
we do it later, it just gets a bit messier.
yeah.
What more would you like to hear from us?
I
think
just
you
wanted
said you were a
to, I just
little
wanted, I felt like not everybody had nod their head with confidence. So I'm seeing that now.
I'm okay now. I think we
Okay.
can, it's doable.
Okay.
I think we can do it.
So I'll proceed tomorrow, put the word out. And
Okay.
that's the message that'll get sent, so it's
Oh,
in your
okay.
packet.
I was actually expecting that if we had a resignation letter from Joan Young, we could have done a news release that she is stepping down and link it with this sort of thing. But mentioned that she's been, she's had 18 years of service or whatever, and do something nice in a newspaper about her resignation.
I think that's still
I wasn't sure that she'd even submitted her written resignation, and that's why I haven't done a thing in regard to this.
She's given it verbally, and the WAC does not set a standard or requirement that it's given written. We've asked for it because it kind of closes everything up, and so we've sent it to her, so she just has to sign it.
Yeah.
So we're still waiting for it.
And I think that verbal could be taken because her behavior of not being here just, shows that, yes, she's resigning. So,
All right, team. Now we can move on.
thank you.
Dr. Wick, sorry.
I think-
No, that's okay. Okay, so we've already done number 1. Number 2 is compliance quarterly update. Our CFO, Steve Daniels, is going to help us with that.
Okay, I want to give you as our chair said, the update on our compliance activity. What we have done and what we have coming up. Kim, okay, we have a number of audits in process or complete. Moss Adams, our CPA firm that we hired to do our financial audit, will be in our facility the week of May 2nd to do what's called the field work. That's where the auditors will be in, working with our finance staff, contract staff, looking at policies. They'll do the field work. The audit will be completed by May 15th and will be reported to the board upon completion. We had the state accountability audit, that was completed. And we also have ongoing an audit by the Internal Revenue Service of our series 2015 A, that's non-taxable, meaning the people that hold them do not have to pay tax on the income they have, bonds. And the audit is to verify and look at the tax exempt status for bondholders of the bonds. We have engaged Foster Pepper, our bond counsel, to work with the IRS on this. No update. It's going very slowly, which really means they probably haven't found much. But haven't had an update on that in probably a month. So that's ongoing. Other compliance activities. Right now, we're in the midst of online compliance training for all employees. We have to complete that by third quarter. We have a coding review and charge master review that basically the documents and the processes on billing. We have a review in June. We hire a consultant to come in every 2 years to do this review. And it's standard best practice for hospitals because you want to make sure you are complying with all the legal requirements and that you have the proper oversight. So we have that done every 2 years. We just completed what's called a mock audit. Hired a firm to come in and look at our practices surrounding the 340B drug program. We've talked about that. That's a highly regulated program, and we just started that last year. So we want to have somebody come in and say, okay, are your processes solid? Are you doing everything to comply with regulations and make recommendations? We had a few recommendations. It came out very well. We have implemented those regulations. And we had talked about this earlier. Beginning of the year, we were required to post our charge master listing of what we charge for all our services online. That's been completed. It's on our website. It's accessible, and we have had no inquiries from any public on it. So I ask our billing manager about every month, anybody inquiries? He said no, we haven't. So it's out there, and it's open to public to see what we charge.
I can actually tell you I've had 2 people who have gone and pulled information off of it, and one even downloaded it because they wanted to do something with it.
Okay. Oh, good. Oh, good. So it's an update of our compliance activities. Yes.
What's comprised under employee compliance online training? What kind of training is that?
Okay, I will give you as many of the modules as I can remember, which won't be all. We have HIPAA training, information security, that's information security training. We have there's a workplace violence module. There is a number of modules on safe patient care and handling. Kim, quickly help me.
IT security.
IT security is on there, and it's just a whole lot.
Are these modules produced by the state?
No, we contract with an outside firm that does this for the healthcare industry, and it's. I went through them because I'm requiring everybody to. I thought I better go through them. It's about a 2.5 hour process to go through them all.
Go through them all in 2.5 hours. Okay.
And part of the training, did they have like a test? Or
Yes, they do. They do. And
progressively?
it's actually very good. They have, it's not a detail of, where do you put this comma or period, but the questions are very good at getting and making sure, okay, I have paid attention, I got the major points. I found it, it's a new vendor, and I found the training very good.
I think the name Charge Master, I don't know, that's...
Industry standard.
Is that right?
Yep. In fact, the legislation that came out requires hospitals to post their charge master.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Sounds like there'd be a guy in the corner.
So if a person wants to know what we charge for, well, let's say a broken arm.
Say a blood draw. Yeah, it's in there. Or any sub-piece of what we do.
Are these like DRGs with the Medicare program?
No,
They're all listed by CPT code.
they're CPT codes. Yeah.
I
Any
guess
other
we gotta go
questions?
online. How do we go online and look at that?
Go to our website, and there's a link to it.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you can't find it, let me know.
The fastest way to get there is on our website. Go up at the top where it says online bill pay. Hit that and you'll find the
You'll find it.
You'll find it.
They don't have one for us, governance, compliance, online testing.
We could find
We
one.
can find one.
Well, actually, remember you got your
So that is a good
certificates.
refresher.
Yeah, we did
Good
get
refresher
Yeah,
course.
you did.
What did you
We
say,
did get
Skip?
certificates.
I said
That's
you
right.
did comply with
That's
public
right.
records training,
Yes.
you got
That's right.
certificates
Yeah,
to prove it,
thank-
so I was just reminding
thank you.
Commissioner Harris that you are compliant.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, do we have any other questions for our CFO?
Yes, that's.
Hearing none, we will move on to the district budget.
It's your CFO again.
Yes, it is. Okay, Steve, you're on again.
What we want to do tonight is start a discussion of
The blue
what will the
boxes.
district look like after we're finished.
Yeah.
And I've got two sets of slides. And this first slide is, I want to go over what are the requirements? What is the district going to have to do? And then talk a little bit about, start a conversation of what resources does the district need going forward. And you'll get to a diagram. The last slide's a diagram with boxes. We're going to concentrate on the blue boxes. So, and you have the slides if you want to look at. So, this is a list of duties that the district will have after we affiliate. It won't be like there's nothing to do. So we're going to have to maintain board officers in compliance with RCW, with the state laws. We're going to have to assure that the bylaws, policies, and procedures are in place to meet state laws. We have to document management with the Public Records Act. And have to appoint a superintendent to oversee the affairs of the district. Superintendent. An annual budget will have to be constructed and submitted to the state and the county. There's some finance related duties that will still go on. Collect and manage income, well, revenue, property tax, the payments from the leases.
Yeah, which means you're building an infrastructure, for example, like right now, the way we are, you're the
Me
board,
and my staff.
I mean, you're, yeah. And
Yeah.
so post affiliation, we have to reconstruct, we're gonna have to have a, accountant
Yeah.
that we will be handling.
Yeah,
Is that,
recommend-
it's like he paid you
Yeah.
to help him
I
along
did,
in this
I did.
presentation.
No. And
You
find
you
more
should-
things I
you
like.
should see
we talked.
okay, okay.
You're giving him these perfect segues. It really is like he paid you.
And when we get looking at the numbers, we won't look at numbers this session, but remember, there's quite a bit of revenue, income, money flowing through. So you need some expertise, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. That's what we need to reconstruct that infrastructure.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, my question is, if we still need all this, which I assume we do, then we're still gonna need to have a board and we're still gonna need to have committees, correct? That
Yeah,
make
that's on the
sure that we
bylaws.
follow through and make sure that things are going the way they are supposed to go, correct?
Yeah, I mean, some infrastructure. And,
Some infrastructure
obviously
that we need.
depends on how many staff you have and such like that.
Yeah,
But
it's a
probably
lot of-
committees.
And I
Yeah.
suppose it also is gonna depend on how we, blend together with Overlake, how we work with them, because we won't be the ultimate in charge, will we? I suspect not.
Not on the
Well,
operations.
so this is constructed around the way the LOI is written.
Okay,
So,
Okay.
rather than coming up with a lot of alternative scenarios, we use the way the LOI is written to construct this. And
okay,
in the LOI, all operations of the hospital are under Overlake.
That's what I thought.
And so this board would then be overseeing the district. So, which is these are the list of responsibilities.
For the district,
So you would,
yeah.
so in regard to the hospital, you would be landlords.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right up there where it says manage income, I'll just throw out some numbers just so you see how big this is. Property taxes, about 3.8, 3.9 million. It's a lot of money. The lease, if you look at what's Overlake most likely going to lease the facility for, is probably about 2.9 million per year. You add those up, you're over 6 million. Big number. And then you'll have, some investments right now we have unrestricted cash of right around $6 million. So you don't want just that sitting in a coffee can off to the side, and invest it in safe investments that comply with state law. There are state regulations on what we can invest in. Submission of appropriate reports. We've got surface water management fees, reports to the state auditor's office and such that have to be done. Adherent to all of the payment schedules on the bonds. We have to make monthly payments on the tax-based bond. The county does that, but we make monthly payments on the revenue bond. So you got to monitor the county on their LTGO, tax-based bond payments. Manage the bond covenants and the relationships with bondholders. We have and will continue to have, after the hospital, certain financial targets we need to meet. And we have about 5 major bondholders that we now report to every quarter. We have a bond investor call with them. How we're doing financially. They're very interested in the affiliation, but there's some of that to work with the bondholders and keep them informed on what's going on, because they have a big stake in this place. When we issued the revenue bonds, I told Kim and Tom, who was our CEO, I said, it's like we got owners now. I haven't thought about that. We do. We have owners, like you have stockholders. And then we need to sponsor and fund external audits. We still will need, most likely, a CPA to come in. There are some control issues we might want to have looked at by outside firms. So there's another slide of this too, so it doesn't stop.
It's quite a bit of,
Could you go back to the previous slide?
Sure, go ahead.
And that is with respect to the with respect to the revenue bonds, those will be paid off by revenue.
Revenue?
Yes.
All right. Now how does this work? Where they're in charge of operations, and they're going to be receiving revenue for their for services. Is that right? And how do we get that to retire our revenue bonds?
There's a lease in place.
Yeah.
So that lease says Overlake will pay you X amount of money, and that has to be at least 5% over the revenue bond payments. So Overlake pays the district then pays the bondholders through various ways. I mean, it's not like you sit down and write out a check. There's things you can set up, but that has to be the flow of funds. And that bond payment is about 2.8 million a year. So that'll flow through.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, it seems to me this is going to be a big deal. And I mean, when you're talking this much money and a board that trusts you, Steve, impeccably to take care of stuff, and Jim and your team, now all of a sudden we're going to have to be able to hold somebody else accountable and understand how to do that. Understand what are the appropriate questions. What do we need to know to be diligent in the job that we have? And that's That's not gonna be an easy transition, or at least I don't think it's gonna be. I don't know how Emma or Commissioner Pollard
I
feels,
think
but
it's gonna be very complex.
It will
I
be,
think-
and
I
you're
think so
building
too.
almost a
Which is-
different corporate here.
Which
This is a
is-
corporate for us, and then there is the other
Yeah.
side of
Which is
it. It's
exactly
real.
why we think it's really important that we spend time in these work studies talking about it.
yeah,
We
Yeah,
have our work studies that are for affiliation, but these work studies that
yeah,
are
and
about
this is the
building
most,
for after affiliation.
right.
Because it's so important that it shouldn't wait till the last minute.
no, it should.
But these, having insight into what this needs to be, will be insight into what it's gonna take as far as resources to keep it going. Because I think that information is gonna be necessary to have the affiliation agreement conversations and to put some wisdom into those, that development.
I think too, it took me probably 2 years to start to get the hang. Some stuff was easy because we own a business and accounts receivable, accounts payable, but it takes a while to feel comfortable knowing what you're doing and what your
When you're
responsibilities.
constructing a whole new.
Yeah, and now we're
system.
going from something we're all three, and I'm sure the whole board's comfortable doing, to something where it's pretty tenuous. We're not sure.
Okay.
what-
So
This
as we
is
keep
where,
going, Steve's good. Steve's put together the required skill sets.
Okay.
We concur.
Tonight-
yeah, the
meeting,
required skills.
I wouldn't expect a final answer to come out, but this is gonna setting this stage and saying, okay, here's what we need to think about in the next few months going forward. We'll have more sessions on this.
Yes.
Frankly, I would feel a lot more relaxed if Steve Daniel were staying full-time. You know,
I'm sitting in the same spot Commissioner Pollard is.
Okay.
I really am.
I am not the only one that can do this.
I know.
I like doing it, but okay. Okay, then there's HR policies. There'd be some, we probably have some staff, so have to have some benefits in
That's right.
place,
Mhm. Those things are-
pay wages and such. There's business and real estate duties. You need insurance. Property and general liability insurance, directors and officers coverage, possibly tail coverage for prior acts, depending on the agreement, and then a surety bond if you employ a treasurer. Asset management, you have the East Campus, you have to manage that. Maintain contracts for legal advice, bonds, real estate, you'll need legal advice. And you have to have a resource for that. Now, there's a slide on that. Maintain a small works roster and oversee bidding process. Probably a little bit of that will go on. Compliance with the obligations of the affiliation agreement. And that's not defined yet, but there will be obligations there that the district has to Overlake and to the public within that. Financial operation and such. Again, we don't know what they're going to be. We have an idea, but we don't know. Other items that we've heard you talk about would be collaborate with other community service organizations in addressing the social determinants of health, working on health-based issues for this community. Still a public hospital district, and there's still more to do in areas such as Gene Pollard sends me stuff on opioid crisis, homeless, youth obesity, all of those type of issues. Something you might want to get into.
And you know, some of those issues, we do have other entities in the community that are really concerned about that. This may be where we might partner and say, what information do you have? How can we help? And become stronger as a unit with somebody that's already started that process.
Maybe create a hub within our community with the rest of the service providers and other community organizations. And then there is a big, several different King County funding that is geared towards many of these issues, this homelessness, youth obesity, that is being awarded to those hubs, to those partners that are within the organization. So that might be another issue that we can work on.
Reading the last paragraph, it says identify through a solution, like I think what he's meant is a process, like a community needs assessment. And that just is given as an example. The fact is, under law, we are required to do a community needs assessment, health needs assessment every 2 years. And one of the things that worries me is we're behind on that process. And I do not think that we should depend on Overlake to do that process for our community. I know it's a nice thought that they would pay for the consultant and so forth, but.
The last one was 2016, I believe. So, yes.
So our intention was not to kind of get bogged down on this last one, but to kind of put it in perspective that while we often talk about all the things that without the obligations and responsibilities associated with the hospital and clinic system, we'd be freed to do other things. But recognizing this is the third slide now of all the things that as a public hospital district still obligated to do, and so that's we're trying to keep that all in perspective.
We're talking out loud sometimes.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine.
I'm talking out loud.
We do the same thing.
Oh, there's so much.
That's how we
so
know.
many
We
things
do
to do.
exactly the same thing when we're sitting and having conversations, and so we have to draw ourselves back to say, wait, we've got to figure out what the reality on the ground looks like.
Just that last section is kind of what you want to do. The other is above is kind of like so.
Well, community needs assessment needs to be above the line then because it's required by law.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point.
Can we move there?
Yeah.
Now, boxes. What we want to talk about tonight in discussion, we probably won't get it all completed, is okay, board functions, what does that relate to in what staff? Probably have to hire some people. And how many staff are required?
Yeah.
Discussions on that. We won't come to a decision on it, but let's start a discussion. What are staff qualifications? If you have people doing this stuff, what kind of qualifications do you have? I have another set of slides where this is not the answer. It would be kind of to start conversation, throwing out ideas. It's the best, because it's always good to say, okay, what do you mean? I'll show you what I mean. And then outsourced functions. There are some functions, such as a CPA audit, legal and such, that will have to be outsourced. The white boxes are, once you get those blue boxes figured out in a few meetings, then that's a fancy way of saying we'll actually build a budget from that. We know what our revenue is. We'll have various costs. I can do costs of insurance and all those required things. And say, what does that look like? We know what our revenue inflows will be from taxes. We have a good idea from the lease of the facility. What will that be? So we can build a budget and say, what do we want to do? And then we build a budget. We then have the whole other area of, we're talking to Overlake, there's some negotiation that will come in with what do we do with our existing cash and what happens to tax revenue above debt service. So those are going to be part of the negotiation phase as we go forward. Okay, so I think that's almost. Okay, now we've got another set of slides of district after affiliation. I'll put them up here, we have them. And again, I want to really say these are not the answers. These are my ideas. And as I am told, your ideas always are right, you know? So, okay, so here's a slide. Yeah, you're right, that's your judgment. Okay, all right. Positions, as I look at it, and superintendent, and someone that does administrative and finance. I just titled administration and finance.
Now I want to make sure I'm understanding this. So we now, didn't the board before pick a superintendent, pick an interview, go after administration and finance officer? Aren't these things we are already doing or have done? No, not even no.
No, this is a post.
These are taken care of right now, but after affiliation.
This is post.
Okay.
you'll need.
After affiliation, you won't have the same staff doing it.
Same
Okay, so
structure.
that's really what you're saying.
They'll
Yeah.
become Overlake employees.
Okay, so if we have Overlake employees, then it,
Not us, but
wait. I guess right now we are an entity of who we are and we have all these things, right?
Yeah.
They've
Yeah,
already
place.
in place. Okay, so now we partner with Overlake. Have we even defined what Overlake's gonna do or how they're gonna do it? We don't really know yet, do we? What the partnership's gonna look like?
but their structure,
We know
yeah.
in the LOI how it will look. And in the LOI, NewCo will be who operates the hospital, and that's an Overlake subsidiary.
Yeah,
And so hospital and clinic operations are now within NewCo. The district is a standalone here,
Okay.
so unattached to Overlake. So the district operation, what you all continue to do, Overlake does not influence that. They pay you. They pay you lease.
Okay.
They pay you
That's-
lease payments.
yeah. So that's the model that we are entering into. We become incognito, we become our own little world here.
Yes.
We become the landlords. Think
The
of it as
landlords,
a
we have our
tenant.
own,
Okay.
yeah.
You're the
With
landlord of
responsibilities.
this building that you used to live in.
Yeah, now
Right.
that,
Now you've moved
okay,
out of the building and you're gonna lease it to a tenant. And the
Yeah.
tenant's gonna operate that building and that business, but you're still gonna have some obligations because you're still the landlord.
Yeah.
You got property tax, you got
Yeah.
government
That's
still
right,
looking at
right,
you,
right,
you
okay.
got legal, financial obligations.
so we still are gonna need a staff of our
Correct.
own, separate from the
Correct.
staff that they have.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
But at
Sounds
one
like that's gonna
point,
cost more.
At one point, I asked, do we really need a CEO? And I believe it was you, Kim, who said, no, we're gonna get somebody in administration, such as this second item here. But I guess the thing that concerns me, it looks like we're duplicating a lot of positions and services. So that'd be one of my
So
concerns.
all of the positions that are associated with the hospital are doing the work of NewCo/Overlake. So they no longer can offer to work on behalf of the district. Steve and I and Jim right now can work both on behalf of the hospital and on behalf of the district because it's all in the
Yeah,
same.
well, but we've had 30 years of superintendents. Now, a good part of the responsibility of the superintendent is going away.
That's correct.
Although,
Then we need
We
to
gotta have
think
somebody.
of a different kind of superintendent. And we certainly don't need to have a very high-paying superintendent. It just seems like we're duplicating a lot of these
That's what
costs.
Yeah.
And
With-
that's a problem.
Yeah,
So these will, whatever lands on this page, if it's those 2 roles or more roles, that's the only place that you have costs for employees.
it's the only staff you
that
is the
will
only-
be,
this
yeah,
is-
unless we ask for it.
Yeah, this is generating the list of staff.
Right, for after the post affiliation. But my question to you, Dr. Whitcomb, is, so Overlake, NewCo/Overlake, they have their own CEO. Is there someone that is that CEO will also be operating, looking into the affairs of SVH, or will
No.
this have its own
Not
superintendent?
in the district. They will not be.
No, because,
Yes, Emma, the district will have their own superintendent.
no, yeah, well,
Yep.
for the board, this is the post,
That's
but
correct.
when they are operating the hospital now, they
We're
have their
solely responsible to make sure who's doing it and how they're doing it, right? No?
No.
Overlake, yes.
Overlake,
okay.
that's
So
what I'm
then-
trying to,
yeah.
yeah. So
Overlake.
clarify it for me.
So we'll keep calling it NewCo just so
Right,
that we
okay.
know that's an Overlake subsidiary.
Right,
They will decide what the roles are that guide the operations within NewCo. I don't know what they'll decide. Probably something like a chief administrative officer.
okay, that's what I was
Probably,
looking at,
just
yeah,
because it's confusing if
Yeah,
you use
yeah.
the word CEO because there's already one. of
right,
those.
that's what I was
So
thinking,
they'll
uh-huh,
probably land on something like a chief administrative
yeah, okay,
officer.
CAO,
But what,
we don't know yet,
and it actually isn't even our decision to make,
Right.
it's theirs.
okay,
It's NewCo's decision to make of how they wanna operate manage the hospital operations at that point in time. But it's whatever they decide is fine, because it doesn't impact this conversation, because none of those expenses and none of the work, there's just no interaction.
So we're still responsible for having a superintendent for this and having administrative and finance manager.
Again, that's as I think about it. It may not be right, I just kind of as a
Okay.
point of discussion. This is
Okay.
all a point of discussion.
That's why I'm asking questions.
But what you really got to go back to is look at the duties you're gonna have to
Yeah.
do. What resources do you need to do those duties?
I'm still not too clear because this is a hospital district. A new entity is coming in, which is not public hospital corporation or whatever.
Right.
So, and the board that was elected by the constituents here in this is now moving away and becoming a landlord. Therefore, the operation becomes private now because we are not involved in the operations anymore, where we are in reality still public hospital district. Does that designation remove it from that affiliation, Skip?
Well, you are still ultimately responsible for a public hospital district.
Okay.
It collects tax revenue, and you have to then respond and answer to the voters, the constituents. So if they're not receiving the services and you find that out, there'll be provisions within the agreement that says if you're not complying and you're not providing services, then you'll be able to say that's a breach of the agreement. So ultimately, you're still at the top responsible for the services they're providing, but not the day-to-day operations. They're going to have a C-suite. They're going to have CAOs and CFOs and CXOs and COOs, and they're going to be running this operation.
Right.
You're not going to be doing that any longer. You're not going to have a CMO that's going to be reporting to you. You will have one individual that reports to you that says, here's what we did last quarter, here's what we did last month, here's our reviews, here's our responses, here's the budget, here's the revenues. You'll be able to get all that information.
But we cannot be involved in asking questions. We just absorb all that report because we are not involved in the operations. How do we get involved?
You will build that into your
We don't want
affiliation agreement that says we want certain reports about certain aspects. This is when we want them, how often we want them. This is what the dashboards need to look like. This is what the criterion need to look like. Here's what we're going to monitor. Similar to what Dr. Whitcup has been sharing with you the last several months, you can probably get the same kind of information down the road from them. You'll be able to monitor that.
But there is a concern that there was a time when Overlake had the opportunity to become a public hospital district, and they decided not to because they didn't want to have to comply with a lot of state laws and regulations. But I'm concerned about issues like the Open Public Meetings Act, the Public Records Act. To what extent is Overlake going to be obliged to respond to those acts
Part of the operational.
on the operations side?
Yeah.
They are not required because they are not a public entity or a public
That's
agency.
the confusion.
They don't have to comply with it.
But we have that obligation, and if we contract with someone, doesn't that transfer that obligation to the?
Any records that you receive from them and you take possession of, those do become a public record. So if you hold them, you possess them, unless you have an exclusion because of proprietary information you can't disclose, then yes, that will be a record that would be subject to the Open Public Meetings Act or Public Records Act.
I think I sent you by email the San Juan County Hospital District, Public Hospital District. So their website is very transparent, and it's just a nice way to kind of peruse what it looks like.
So did they just completed their affiliation?
No.
Oh.
No,
It's well established.
We all got a copy of that email from Kim.
I didn't think so. I
Making
didn't print it
reference
out.
to San Juan
Public.
County.
San Juan
So
County
that's probably the
Public
easiest way to deal with it.
Yeah. And so on their website, it demonstrates, because you're seeing, the website, you're seeing the public hospital district, San Juan County Public Hospital District number
Whatever.
1 or 2, it doesn't matter.
It's one.
One, and then they are talking about the hospital in our district is operated by Peace Health, a private entity who isn't subject to the Open Public Meeting Act and the Public Records Request. But they talk about that relationship, and they do a nice job of describing it, of how their responsibility as a public hospital district is to make sure that there's adequate healthcare services provided. They've chosen to do it through, they contract it and have Peace Health do it through exactly what is being contemplated here, which is a lease arrangement. So I just think it's a nice way to actually see it already in action. A lot of what we've been talking about doing. Don't get sucked down the path. They also provide ambulance services, so just ignore everything you see about that, because that's not us. But they're pretty good to keep those two very distinct. So just keep your eyes away from the EMS, and that will keep it from getting confused. It's a nice display.
When you do that website, if you look at their subsidy agreement, it goes through all the recitals and talks about the district has the authority and the district has powers and their taxing authority, and they break that all down, and they've had a couple of amendments. That occurred back in 2009, so it's been going on now for about 10 years. So it's pretty, as Dr. Wickup said, it's pretty well done. You can track how they do that and their agreements, and they talk about their rights. It's a lengthy document, so if you really can't sleep, it's probably.
Have David read it for all of us.
Very good.
But there's a certain transparency that's nice, because you can see it.
They also have their lease agreement in there as well. It's attached to their subsidy agreement. You can read what their commercial lease agreement looks like, how they lease their premises to Peace Health.
Okay.
Give you kind of a good idea and get you thinking. And that's what we're trying to do.
There's so much to
Let's
absorb.
start thinking about this.
So Steve's proposal here is just at a starting point saying, I think that it can be pulled off with two positions, as long as both of those positions are, really strong, like this. The final solution may be that it's three, and that's broken apart. But I think your proposal is try it with two really strong positions.
Two strong
to get
positions,
some
and it's me thinking, okay,
Yeah.
and it's meant to start discussion.
And when we do, let's just say hypothetically we do have that, we need a place to have them housed. The East Campus will no longer be part of SVL, it's not part of the lease agreement. So
Right.
that East Campus belongs to the board.
District, yeah.
So that is probably where we can do all our business, property leasing management, infrastructure, and the superintendent and the finance manager be housed, so. Because we won't have any house, we won't have home,
And
and,
lease someplace else that way.
right? So
Would we
that's,
not have anything in here? I mean, even if.
No.
Okay.
you see, that's why we really have to absorb many of these things and
Yeah.
do
This is gonna take
study
a
it,
while.
it is.
I have a heck of a lot of questions.
Okay.
That's what this is.
That's
for.
right.
That's
Yeah,
exactly what
what
this
I
is.
would like to do, since some of them may be elementary to others, I'd like to have an opportunity to sit down with Steve and Steve explain some of these things to me.
Oh, I'd be happy to meet with you. Any of you that want to meet with me. You can meet.
I think that would be useful.
Things in terms of infrastructure and all the things we
There's
need
lots
to,
of questions.
stuff
about
that
this.
we need to get done.
I'm very concerned about the bottom line cost in providing health care to the people in the district. How much of this is duplicative? We're bringing in Overlake, and we're going to have lots of executives from Overlake. We're going to have these two executives. We're going to have all these obligations. It just seems to me that if someone were from the outside were to calculate the bottom line cost of this and whether this is an efficient way to deliver health care to the community, I'm just not sure. And that's why I'd like to have an opportunity to talk with
I
Steve.
think it'll be a great conversation to have, because in the course of the conversation will be an opportunity to actually identify the places where there's actually efficiencies gained.
Yeah, I'd
Maybe
like to know about
affiliation.
some of the
Yeah.
efficiencies
Yeah.
gained. I haven't seen
Right,
them
and
yet.
really do the, either efficiencies gained, so cost reduction in healthcare, or neutral.
Yeah.
That it actually doesn't drive it up, because they're, right now, there are duplications if you compare Overlake to us.
Well, yeah, well, you could say that Swedish Overlake.
Exactly.
Valley,
Exactly.
I mean.
And as soon as you come together,
University of Washington.
Yes.
There's tremendous
Yes.
duplication, but here we are creating a duplication possibly. And so, but I don't want to do it.
It'll be a great conversation, because I think in the end, it'll feel like there aren't, but I think you have to go through the conversation to
We
get
have
to that
a
spot.
visitor here that's spoken with us about the verdant model that's used up in Edmonds. And I'd like to have somebody from Verdant come in here and explain what that's all about and whether that could be built into what we're doing here.
Or maybe,
That is, I'm sorry, that is exactly what could fall in that other section that we were talking about, is when we get to ready to flesh that out. That is exactly what we can do. It's a great idea.
well, we like to look at San Juan County Public Hospital District. I'm just thinking maybe to ease some of our, especially my concern, my confusion, to have this one of the representative from this district maybe come and give us their insight on how they proceeded with their affiliation and what made them unique and successful. Because are they on the same characteristics that we do have here?
Say that again. On the
Is
one?
that, yeah, the San Juan, do they have the same characteristics, environmental and all that we have here? Because SVH is completely, meaning Snoqualmie, the valley itself is growing and becoming more, I would call, richer community, whereas San Juan is a different different kettle of fish, I'm gonna say, right? So the comparison is different. So how does San Juan become a unique and different? That it seems like you really feel they are the best model to follow.
They're the model out there, because what they've done is what we're proposing doing, which is private entity running the hospital district and the public hospital district serving as the landlord.
Okay.
That's the reason why I identified them as something worth looking at, just because you can see it in action. It's not, we don't have to imagine it, we can actually see it in action. The other place to look is what's gone on up in at Swedish Edmonds. But that one's harder to see because it's not a public hospital. It's the public hospital district relationship is different. The richness of that agreement is not the same as what we would be experiencing. So it feels like it actually might misrepresent what we're proposing doing. The San Juan experience is much more in line as far as just the financial richness of it. And the other difference is where we're doing an affiliation, like we're already managing the hospital and we're transitioning operations. The San Juan story is different. What they were operating was just a really amplified clinic, kind of an amplified clinic and urgent care. And they said, we actually need a hospital, but we can't pull off hospital.
They're not critical
So
access.
They are.
They are.
But they just couldn't pull off hospital. That's why they brought in the partner, Peace Health, to actually build. So they built the hospital and occupy it. So their story of getting to this place is slightly different than ours. Their end result is exactly what is being proposed through the LOI.
So Commissioner, let me offer two pieces of information about Peace Health that might help what happened up there. San Juan Public Hospital District Number 1 was created in 1989, and it was going to operate what was called the Inter-Island Medical Center. It was just a little medical center. It wasn't really a hospital. But the center, because it wasn't a hospital, and billing for emergencies like a broken arm at 3 a.m. proved too expensive. So they said, how are we going to get out of this box? We're going to lose money and we can't afford this. We're not going to provide good service. They contracted with Peace Health. Their numbers are really easy to track. They collect $1 million in tax revenue each year. Of that $1 million, they give 92% of it, $920,000 to Peace Health to run the hospital. They keep 5% of it, $30,000, to do whatever they want in the community, to look at community needs assessments, the programs that you've been talking about. And their administration to maintain the public hospital district is 3%, $30,000. So that's how they spent that $1 million. And now I'm not going to tell you that yours is going to match up exactly like that, but you can see it. 92% goes back in to the organization.
The services and the business.
Exactly. 5% to do these additional other programs, 3% for administration. And they have a limited staff.
No, wait a minute, I'm lost. The 92% San Juan gave to Peace Health?
Yeah. Yes.
But that's not the same model that we have here,
Not the
right?
same
We're
exact
not
model,
gonna give
but-
that to them.
But when
Okay.
you think about it, the revenue that you take in,
Right.
where is that going to be expended? You've got your bonds to pay. In essence,
Mhm,
you're
mhm.
going to
Right.
be managing that operation. Yeah, they were able to retire some of their bonds as well, which you would want to look at.
I think that's why we're in this hole, why we are here, because of that. Otherwise, we probably would, one of the, yeah. Anyway, okay. Unless Commissioner Pollard have any more. All right, we have plenty. I do too.
We'll keep coming back.
I do
to this
too. Well,
because
let's
it's
go back.
complex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have lots more.
Okay, and we'll have more as we continue.
Mhm.
This was just me and Kim, mostly me saying, okay, if I was gonna take those duties that we talked about, how would I divide them between the superintendent and the administrative and finance person? And higher level goes to the superintendent, more of the transactional stuff goes to the administrative and finance person. So, superintendent, district oversight of trust accounts. A lot of money held in trust. In other words, neither side can touch it. It flows in and flows out, and it's with like U.S. Bank, our current trustee. So manage that, and make sure that the district adheres to its bond payment schedules, the tax-backed bonds, LPGO bonds, and revenue bonds. Manage the bond covenants. Got to make certain financial targets, make sure and track those. The point of contact for the CPA audit and the state audit. State auditors are going to want to come in. I would anticipate the district will still want to have a CPA firm come in. Hire, termination, and establish pay rates, the HR, high-level HR functions. Manage insurance coverage. You have to have insurance coverage, property coverage, and liability coverage. Oversee real estate maintenance. East Campus got to be maintained and such. Manage legal issues, working with outside counsel. You know, with the kind of funds flow you have and such, and just things that happen, you have to go to an outside counsel, go to an attorney. Let's see. Lease, manage the compliance with terms of the affiliation.
Collaborate.
There are going to be a lot of things that have to be done. Collaborate with community service organizations as required or as the board wants to. We talked about board-related duties, compliance duties, and treasurer. Liaison with the treasurer, whoever the district treasurer is. The administrative and finance person, collect and manage revenue, have it coming in, direct where it goes, make sure it goes, and report to the superintendent. Produce an annual budget, work with the commissions and superintendent and board. This is really kind of a staff account. Have probably do accounting on QuickBooks, which is a very robust, small accounting package. Payment of warrants and payroll. You guys are still going to get paid. You got a couple of paychecks, probably. Some human resource policies. Do the required record keeping for payroll taxes, benefits, payroll records, and then administrative and filing. Make sure you keep the records that need to be kept for the district. So divided those up.
And you see that he did a really intentional checks and balances so that with only 2 people, seriously, you really have a lot of risks, and so you want to
Yeah,
make sure that.
so you have to segregate the duties here, make sure there's.
We've got, when we talk about outsourced services, something that kind of goes to that. You only have 2 people, so you need equal oversight. So just we'll get to that in a few minutes.
Oh, are you ready? Back?
No. FTE requirements. I just inwardly said, okay, 1 full-time each. You may not need that. I don't know. Do some more research we have to do.
Yeah.
What kind of requirements? Superintendent should have some management experience. An MBA or an MHA would be preferred. The administrative person, some years of accounting experience, because you're going to have to run an accounting system. Small, but it's can be somewhat as complicated as what we run here. And if you get someone with a master's or a business degree and a CPA, be preferred but not required. So that's my thoughts. Now go to outsource functions. Okay, legal counsel. You're going to have legal counsel. You're going to talk to a lawyer. And skip we like to tell lawyer jokes. No. Okay. Annual CPA audit. The third one is a quarterly control review. Because I got to thinking, there is a lot of money flowing through. And I talked to Moss Adams, the partner review. I said, okay, what would you charge if every quarter CPA came out and sent somebody out to just look at the controls and make sure, okay, give the board confidence, everything is professional, there's nothing illegal is going on. When you have a lot of money and only 2 people controlling it, there's always a question because you only got 2 people. Right now, if I started to go crazy and did something with the money, we'd have our controller knocking on Kim's door immediately. You haven't got that oversight. Moss Adams said they charge probably about $3,000 a quarter to do that, $12,000. I just wanted a number, what that would be. And then district treasurer function, should consider moving that to the county, which it was, probably 8 or 9 years ago. It was with the county, after the county issued treasurer. So some outsourced functions there in the control area and in the legal area. Needs some outsourced functions. And I think those are my thoughts. I'm sure they're not the final answer, but it's to start a conversation.
I know it's a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And it's hard to figure out how it's all gonna fit together. It's like a puzzle, like you've shown us all these puzzle pieces that look like they can go anywhere, but we all know they have to go a specific spot.
And this was really to show you that there is some complication. It's going to require some thought and more work to design this.
Well, I think until we start getting our hands dirty, we're not gonna really understand entirely what we're doing. Till we get to something, we have to start making more detailed decisions or collaborate together and say, okay, yes, we're all happy with doing this way. I mean, that's kind of.
I think as we keep going too, just keep revisiting this because, like Steve said, tonight's blue boxes, and then come back and talk about white boxes next time, because that's when you start layering dollars into it. So part of what he was looking for is just confirming that it feels like we're on track, even if it's not clear, it feels a little snowstormy, but just to confirm that we're on track, and now we can keep moving forward. Each time we'll revisit all of it and start putting some dollars with it, because if everybody agrees that try and construct it with these two really robust roles, and now what does it look like with the expenses there?
I mean, if you say, okay, this is maybe not the answer, but it's a good starting point to start to talk about, I can then, for our next meeting, put some numbers to this. And then, you make changes, the numbers will change. But develop a model that says, okay, here's what that would look like when I do the financial, basically the profit and loss.
So, and you're right, in the end, we'll have constructed an infrastructure, we'll kind of, a new business will emerge in front of you. That's what'll birth, when we get there.
It's trying to
One
get there
piece
and
at a
getting the
time,
skill
just
sets that is
layer by layer.
necessary, yeah.
Yeah, I think she's right. I think it's partly about skill sets and knowing what we're doing. I mean, we're kind of, our roles are changing. And so we want to know.
We should have been prepared for this a long time ago. We should do
But you know what?
study. We
Your
have to understand
roles-
the business concept. We are in a business concept now. It's no longer,
Well, some of us
You
are
know.
business owners,
Yeah,
and
but
that's
you know,
okay.
your roles actually aren't changing
No.
that much. You don't have to take responsibility beyond what you own right now. As long as we
Just
make
the
sure,
funding.
as long as we make sure that we get these job descriptions right and get the right people in these roles
I think that's
to
true.
take ownership. So all that lists of things that has to be done, we have to make sure that the people who get hired into the roles are capable of doing all of that. Because
that's always a challenge. I've
Yeah,
been
Well,
there.
and those,
It
I've
but we're
been
asking
there.
more.
but
Trying to find the right fit of
Yeah.
the right set of people.
you
It's not
don't,
easy.
you don't want to just say, oh, we need a superintendent. It should
Yeah.
be somebody who can manage stuff. Without having a lot of clarity about what does that really mean, and
Especially in our situation, while we partner with another entity, so that we're still here, but we use that to its fullest, right? To get the benefits of what an Overlake can have and still be an entity in and of itself. Yes, no?
yeah, but you're not really Overlake's not going to influence. They're doing the operations and assuring that you have this cash flow.
Okay.
That's what their role is for you. Is they've just suddenly put you on this amazing, solid path of having this cash flow that's reliable and
Okay.
Hopefully.
contracted.
So, like, yeah,
Well,
It's not guaranteed.
that's what
Nothing is
happens.
guaranteed in
Well,
the world.
what in life is.
Yeah.
Death,
Life,
but death
there's-
and taxes, right?
Yeah.
Those are our only
So
guarantees.
we'll
That's right. But I think
we'll
that
cross that bridge when we get
well,
there.
you'll eventually loop back into Steve's other big project that he's working on, which is what's the financial state of the organization look like? Getting rating, being able to refinance because you're in a different position. Yeah, and so
Okay.
so you'll see these eventually intersect with one another.
All right. This has been very informative.
Sorry, I know we've kind of shaken things up. It feels like Jello in a bowl, and
It had to happen. We had to hear it at some, I mean, if this is what we're gonna do, we want to know, at least I do, and I assume Commissioner Pollard, Commissioner Herron is the same as myself. We want to know how this is gonna work. And we wanna know how we're gonna use the dollars to the maximum that will benefit our community. So I think we need this, and we just may need to hear it more than once.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
This is
Yes.
gonna be an ongoing project.
We'll very intentionally revisit so that each time we kind of do a reminder of what we talked about the last time to make sure that we all are staying together. Because we're not going to get through all of this disruption,
If we aren't
without
together.
staying together and making sure we're all understanding it in the same way.
Are there any other questions?
There will be more to come.
So I would propose, our next meeting next month, put some numbers behind this. It's again, they're not the answer, but it'll give you a scope of what do the numbers look like. Does that sound?
That might help. I think it's not just numbers, it's responsibilities too.
Mhm.
What are our responsibilities? What does our job look like and what are we responsible for? So that I think everybody that's here takes their
If you
role
do-
seriously.
If you do put the numbers, well, are those numbers gonna be factual or hypothetical?
They'll be as good as I can get.
Yeah, because we really wanna see where we
I
stand.
will get reasonable numbers. I mean, I I know what insurance will cost. I know
Right,
what
at least have
resources
some,
for
yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
close approximations of,
they're gonna be as good as
yeah,
they
to
can.
be more factual.
A good idea of salary, you know,
Yeah,
these
because we
roles
really-
and these,
yeah.
and these skill sets.
Yeah.
What does the salary look like for that?
Are we ready to move on? All right, so now we're in
Social marketing.
social marketing document
Is this it?
review. Okay.
Oh, okay. Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't, you may feel the same way about this as you did the.
Could you just describe what this is? I don't understand it.
I do, we do this, we do this, and yeah, that's interesting.
I had to piece myself through it too, so don't feel bad at all. I don't know if you remember, but we wanted to reach out to our community, you know, and get our name out there using social media rather than the traditional methods, because the traditional methods, like putting an ad in the newspaper, has an incredible expense with it that does not have the return associated with it. So we made a decision this year to use social media, so Facebook and Instagram. So we have subscribers who operate in that space.
No kidding.
And I'll say I'm not one who operates in that space.
I
so
don't.
that's why this is a learning experience for me too. My kids do, but I don't. And so the group that we've hired to do this work for us, I've asked them to give a report every month so that I can see what's happening and what our impact is. So that's what's in front of you, is their report of what our impact is with our social media. So I think as we look at this, it'll have some clarity. So Val pulled the Facebook up here for us. And so in March, so this is a comparison of March of this year versus March of last year.
Oh, okay. March 19 on the left, March 18 right?
No, I think whenever there's a comparison, that's what it's always being compared to. So
Okay.
in March, that we had almost 500 people who expressed a like when they came to our page. There were 709 people who were reached by Facebook. So even though they may not have liked it, which is an action that you do on the Facebook page,
Yeah.
even if they didn't like it, the fact that they dwelled on it and looked at it was captured. And so that's the 709. It was captured there. Probably, here's Jen sitting back here, and this is like her world, so she could do this so much better than me. But again, the important, we don't need to go through every single line, as much as just to see that we're the number of people that we're making contact with who are spending time looking at something about us.
Now, I have 3 Facebook pages. I have one, I hope that's right. I have a personal one, I have one with DN Traffic, and I have one as a hospital commissioner. So I have put at different times certain health things that I find on my page, or let people know that we're having a meeting and what the discussion may or may not be. So I have been doing it. I haven't done it very much lately, but and I get reminded. You haven't said anything. And it'll tell me how many people have or haven't come to the page. So it's even a good way for commissioners to remind the community and say, there's a board meeting tonight. We've got this and this on our agenda. If it is of concern to you, or if something health-wise happens that's really significant, like the hospital gets an award or something, that goes on. I don't get a ton of hits, but I get enough that at least I
They
know.
didn't like your.
No, I think they don't think that way necessarily. So. But I just want to throw that onto.
That's good, yeah, it's a good social,
You
yeah.
friended the
Yeah, they
hospital.
friend you? Somebody
I don't know if
friend
I'd be afraid of the hospital, but okay. Now I'm gonna have to.
I'm not on Facebook, so
I don't do
know.
Facebook.
It's
I
a-
got lots
I
of
don't know
Facebook
what our
big friends.
page looks like. Is there
I-
a way to print it out so we can see what
All
our
you have to
page
do-
looks like?
You should just.
You have to have a Facebook account.
I don't wanna be on Facebook.
You know,
That's okay, you don't have to reply to, I don't do, I have tons, because every time I click on my sister's account, I have the thousands of them in line, all the way down. It'll take me a whole year to read all of them, so I don't do it.
Well, I think we
Yes,
just have
we
to
can-
keep this in
It's just too
perspective,
much.
and that is that we're talking about 709 people reached or fans reached, is that what it's
Yeah.
been?
Yeah, that's how many have looked at
So,
the,
realize that
page.
the circulation of the Valley Record, at least until they did their major regional change and so forth, was about 12,000. So, you realize 709 is not 12,000, and of course, we don't know how many people actually read the newspaper, that's another factor. But I'm not, I was on Instagram, and I'm not on that anymore, I don't use it. And there are a lot of people, especially us elderly types, that are not on Facebook. As a matter of fact, they're not on any social media. They're not even on the computer, for God's sakes.
So our target audience here was very intentionally those people who are, so the community members
Valley
here, who we've not been as successful recruiting or penetrating into their habits.
So marketing.
We're
It's a
we're really
marketing tool.
into the senior centers, and we've got a great reputation there. But the group that we've not really done an effective outreach to are the people in the young families.
Right.
So that's so I completely hear what you're saying, in that this is not necessarily the right avenue to get to a population who doesn't use Facebook and Instagram. So it is only a partial solution, but it's the solution that gets to this segment of people, of the population. There has to be other solutions as well, absolutely.
Well, I've been getting survey letters from healthcare facilities that I visit. University of Washington, Virginia Mason, Swedish. They wanted to know how I liked my last visit, and they sought out constructive criticism and all of this sort of thing. I don't think we're doing that, but I think it would be a good thing
So
to do.
every patient who comes through here, whether they come through our clinic, our lab, our x-ray, our outpatient rehab, wound services, endoscopy, or inpatient, so their feedback is solicited either by telephone call, mail, or text message, or email. So they have 4 different ways that we solicit their feedback. So depending on where they had access into our facility, it's either 100% or it's a randomized sampling. But every department that has patients passing through it has.
Do they give that feedback immediately while they're still here?
No, it's done after, because it has to be done according to CMS regulations. And so the CMS regulations require that it's delivered after the visit, and it has to come through a CMS certified vendor. So we can't send it out directly. So we use Press Ganey to send ours out.
Who?
Press Ganey.
Okay. Yeah, because I've found that if you let people ruminate on the experience for a week or two, you're more likely to get an authentic response than if you have them respond immediately or while they're here or very quickly. So,
I have to tell you, Commissioner Pollard, our church, it's the old people that are doing most of the Facebooking. It's not.
is that right?
Oh, we have lots of elderly people that are using it frequently,
I'll be back.
that just communicate to the rest of the congregation. But that's because there's a population there that is sharing their lives some anyhow. But just because you're old doesn't mean you can't do that.
They're all the young old, and there's the old and the young old.
He's young old.
Okay, so if we just
Okay, anyway.
if we move to Instagram, which
Pardon?
if we move to the Instagram display, which is now a very different
I just don't use
approach.
it. I just don't use it.
But you have an account.
I know. But I don't use it.
That's all right.
Inactive, it's
That's all right.
dormant.
Again, looking at the target audience are those families, those younger families that tend to be
Yes.
the ones who use it. And so you'll see now it's measured in followers, and so this upper graph, you just see our follower rate is climbing. And again, we just started it. We just started doing this in February.
Oh,
Explain to me
so
what
very
this is,
early.
because I don't know about this.
That's what we're looking at up here on the board,
Yeah, I know that.
which is,
But what is an
Instagram.
Instagram? What is that? You just put a note on the internet and?
She don't know how to
I'm
use
struggling, I don't
Instagram.
even know how to smartly tell you. It's a way of Insta, so it's just these one-time quips that you put out there. And so yes, you do like Facebook where you attach yourself to somebody, but you follow them. So I'm gonna go outside of healthcare and let's say that you are 14 years old and you wanna follow Justin Bieber. So you
I don't mind
follow
being
him.
14, but Justin Bieber, I'm not
You
so
follow
sure.
him. Okay, go with it. You wanna follow him. And so that's what you do is you tell your Instagram account I want to follow him.
yeah.
And now Justin Bieber is considerate of that, and so
Yeah.
he kind of keeps you informed of what he wants you to hear, and so he'll post pictures of himself and
Yeah.
here and there and what's
His
he's
PR
doing,
person
and
will, but okay.
That's all right. It's him.
He has to accept
you do
you as
Twitter?
a follower. doesn't
I
he?
do Twitter.
Yes, it depends on how you have your account set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he can set it up where he has to approve it, or he can set it up to automatically accept you.
Okay.
And so that's what it is. He knows you're following, so he's going to post things that you want to see. So that's us. We post things that we want you to see because you've chosen to follow us.
On this or on Instagram?
Instagram.
That's this, okay.
On Instagram.
All right.
And so you can see we've had a slow incremental increase of people who have chosen to follow us. And so you can see the now the second and the third groups.
Yes.
Those little blips, those are representative of each time that something got posted. Because it's Insta, remember, it's instant.
Yes.
And so people see it in the real time and then they don't tend to go back and so it's not like Emma going to her sister's Facebook page and popping it and having this long trail of conversations that
It's
date
different,
back
yeah.
for months.
what's on
It's
my
just
phone right
I'm
now.
looking at it in the right now. So it's a great way just to throw little short, brief messages out there. So we'll throw messages out there about did you know the different X-rays that you can get here in our facility? Did you know that we pair with Radia? Do you know about Radia? That's our X-ray firm. We sent a message out when the Snoqualmie Fire Department was given their award. They got a national certification award that is it's very hard to get, and only like 1% of fire departments in the country have it. So we took that opportunity to send out a congratulatory message for their achievement. So again, an opportunity to
That's good, yeah.
to say things. So again, now you have to see where our followers are from. Most of them from Snoqualmie and North Bend, and a few from Issaquah. So again, we don't have to go through all this in detail, but I just wanted you to see, I mostly wanted you to see that we have something going on, and it's just building and growing. And
Yeah.
here we've looked at it in the beginning, and then we'll come back later and you can see what it's like later on. And so here on the last page, here's just a few examples of some of the things that we posted. We even posted during the snowstorms. We made sure that all of our followers saw what was happening in the city of Snoqualmie.
They are a good tool if you have the time. But like the Facebook, my goodness, I feel like if I have to sit there and read all my Facebook, I don't have a life anymore. That's all I'll do. Look at all my Facebook. Never mind.
But there are those who are very proficient
Yeah.
at doing that. And so again,
I
that's
know.
the different audience, different mechanisms. We'll never
Yeah.
find a single mechanism to hit everybody.
Right.
So this is the one mechanism we have to hit one group.
Now, I have 7 children. They're all grown up.
Yeah.
When they start a message, it goes through the whole family and it goes on for a week. So we use it. My kids use it a lot.
There you go. There you go.
Oh,
They have debates on it.
wow.
Thank you, Dr.
Sure.
Whitcomb.
Just kind of keep you in the loop of what's going on.
Yeah.
It's good. It's,
Well, it reminds me, I should.
broadens our horizon every time.
Yeah, I should be doing that more often.
So I take it
I'm not-
we don't pay anything for Facebook or Instagram, but we pay something for this evaluation.
Yes,
Do you know how much we paid for this?
it's all part of our contract with the company that does this. So they're constantly monitoring, adding these posts. It's a full-time job and representing us.
What does it cost?
I have to pull out the invoice. It's within our budget, in our marketing budget for the year.
Commissioner Pollard,
Yes, ma'am.
would you like to ask Dr. Whitcup if she would bring an estimate of what it cost next board meeting so that you get your question
Yeah,
answered?
I think it'd be interesting to know what we're paying for this.
Okay.
See,
All righty. I think it's a
Simple
legitimate
enough.
question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could that be part of your regular report perhaps at the next meeting?
The commissioners?
At the superintendent's report?
Okay. It's not time to yawn yet. You don't get to go.
That long drive.
Chairman,
He has a long
I'll try to
drive.
be much more secretive.
All right, do we
It's
have any
okay,
public,
Skip.
excuse me, folks, we're gonna move on.
Public comment?
Yes, are we done with, okay, do we have any public comment? No. Okay, so we're done with public comment. Upcoming board meetings. Regular business meeting will be Thursday, May 9th, 2019, 6:30 p.m. We'll be in the same room, and our work study will be Wednesday, May 29th, 2019 at 6:30, also in this room. Do I hear a
I
motion?
move to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose? We're adjourned.
I guess we can go ahead
Okay,
and move
all
on.
right, so that puts us now on 2018 annual report discussion?
No, we just
No?
finished that.
That's what this is?
No.
Oh,
No,
no. We don't have that.
we did it.
We haven't done it. That's 2018.
Oh, we haven't done it? Okay.
Oh, we don't have
So
that. Oh,
That's
the
what I
annual
thought.
budget, this is what,
Oh.
I handed out in the packets.
is it?
Yeah.
This is it?
Yes, oh, we got it up
Oh,
here?
there we go.
Yes. So this is what I handed out in the packet, the CEO packet at the last board meeting, and I said, I'm just kind of dumping this on you and for you to read, because I just produced it and I needed to stop touching it, and so.
I remember that.
So, but I wanted to bring it back because I did just hand it to you in case you had any questions or any parts of it that you wanted to
Okay.
discuss, because I think this is a new concept of seeing the whole year kind of in a wrap-up state. And it's the first year producing it, so there's definitely gaps.
We could spend a whole evening on this.
And
And therefore,
Spend as much time
I
as you want.
suggest we wait until we have Mr. Spikers here to have a more fulsome board, especially since Joan is not here anymore. So here we're doing this with 3 board members. I'd suggest we table this for tonight. And I don't think there's any urgency about this.
it was just if you have
This is
any questions.
information.
You can just take it and read it, and we don't have to ever bring it back. And you guys can just bring questions up on the side too.
I'm
No, I
just
think we
saying-
can go, we should, as we're here now, might as well, because you're saying we're not gonna bring it back, we need to go ahead and,
Well, she said she can bring it back, right?
No.
We don't have
Oh,
to,
you
it doesn't
can.
matter, of course.
oh, I see, okay.
But we don't have David here, which is we're down to 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
I don't know how we all collectively feel about
We're not
that.
voting, there's no voting
No, it's
anyway.
vote.
It's just if you
Yeah,
have
this is
questions.
just
And what,
study
what
session.
Kim said is that she's happy to answer any questions we
Absolutely.
have about this.
Absolutely.
And we don't have to methodically go through each page.
No,
Um,
but I think I need to look at it. So if nobody has any questions for Dr. Whitcup right now about this, then we'll move on. If you do, then take an opportunity to ask them. I make recommendation that we put it on the agenda for our next work study and that we all come somewhat prepared with having looked at this with some questions. Is that agreeable to the board?
I agree.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, then we will move on.
Now, I read this stuff from our former parliamentarian, and she says, don't do things by consensus.
Okay,
So what she would want is a motion to table this for the time being, and we can take it off the table at a future meeting.
At a work study?
Can't, only because you've published your work studies and because it's an agenda item. You could address an agenda item because you have a published work study.
Yeah.
Commissioner Pillar, would you like to make a motion that we address this maybe at our next work study? Would that work? What would you like to do?
I move that as far as tonight's meeting goes, that we
At the
table the critical access hospital periodic evaluation for 2018 for tonight, and that we take it off the table at a future meeting, and that gives us
Yeah,
flexibility.
it is, just to clarify, you said meeting, it is for work study
That's
session.
a meeting.
Yeah, but I'm trying to be specific, not the board meeting, but work study session meeting.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
meeting. All these are meetings.
These are
Okay.
meetings, we call them work studies because that's your custom and that's the colloquial use of it, but it is a meeting. So you could have it at your next meeting or at a future meeting, or you could call it at a future work study.
Well, and I think too, we don't have Commissioner Spikers here, which I think he needs to be a part of.
So Valerie, did I make myself clear enough for that to go in the minutes?
I believe so. I have it down as the next work study meeting, which would be towards the end of May.
I just,
May 22nd.
meeting, I might be confused and say, oh, it's a regular board meeting, I might come to the board meeting. I'd like to be specific.
Well, now that we've brought it to a work study, it could be an item on a board meeting. There's nothing that forces us into the work study mode, is there? In other words, the commissioners would be expected to look over this again. If they have any questions, it could be brought up at a board meeting or a work study.
My thought is a work study is a little bit less rigid than our regular meetings. It's much more casual
Yeah.
right now. Nobody's saying, you
Yeah.
can't talk and you can talk. We're having a collective conversation. And we are down 2 board members, we're just 3. So I think even having Commissioner Spikers here, I personally would like to do it as a work study, another work study.
I agree, I second.
So, okay, well, we need a motion first. Did you make a motion, Commissioner Fuller?
Read back what you have, Valerie, please.
Well, that you moved to table the title of the report, the 2018 periodic evaluation, and address it at the next meeting, is what you said.
How about, I would like that to be a future board,
Work study meeting?
a future work study meeting to accommodate the comments here.
At
And
future,
that doesn't force us into, we don't know what might come up before the next meeting. A future work study
Well,
session.
future is so vague, the time is of the essence. So if you don't have a date selected,
might
future
not get
could be
done at all.
forever and ever and ever till
The chair
doomsday.
can take care of
Oh,
that.
sorry, chair,
Isn't that
that's
right?
just a,
Yeah, I personally, right now, it's on my table, my idea, that, I guess I'm not saying this quite right, that we should do it the next work study. The 3 of us have been made aware, and it would be good to do it at the next one.
Oh, okay, you'd like to do that?
I think so.
Okay, I modify my motion to
Thank you.
indicate that at the next work study session. And that would be the May work study session.
That
So it
would.
could even be that specific.
Yes, thank you.
I second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So we will take the time and effort to look at this and come back with questions for Dr. Whitcomb.